Good morning still. I am so excited. I am going to be talking to you about the exciting and sexy topic of FMLA. Yes? Yes? What, not so exciting, not so sexy? That's all right, it's all right. We're going to have a good time anyway. As Dan said, I am an attorney. My background is in employment litigation, which means I handled cases in diversity, discrimination, wrongful termination. I was able to transfer into being a diversity counselor and now a trainer for national seminars. But I still do a lot of the same things. I do classes on coaching and mentoring, communication and collaboration, and yes, harassment, discrimination, how to deal with difficult people. You know what? Here's what I do. I remind us grown folk of the things that we all learned in preschool, and help me out if you remember what they are. Keep your hands what? Yeah. And if you can't say anything nice? Don't say it at all. If we grown-ups could remember those two things. Oh, but I've changed that last one a little bit to work for the 21st century. And let me know if this works for you. If you can't say anything nice, do not send it in an email. All right, so that's a little bit about me. I'd like to know a little bit about you, about your level of understanding in the room. So raise your hand if you know about FMLA, you're pretty familiar with it. Let me just see who you are. Got a good amount. Excellent, excellent. And how many of you are like FM what? Don't know what I'm talking. So I could have come up here and said finance, money, and liquid assets, and you would have been, all right. Okay, I teach a basic fundamental FMLA course. The regulations are 750 pages. We don't get to all that in a 6-hour period, okay? And my participants are saying, thank goodness. What I do is I hit the highlight, the important parts. I will go over the things that give people the most concerns, where they have the most questions. And how do I know? I ask them. And I make sure that we hit everything that they want to hit in a class. And today, in this short version, I am going to sort of skate over the tip of some of the key elements. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about what I call the STAR steps. What are the STAR steps? The STAR steps are strategies to achieve results. This is your game plan. This is the way that you can best navigate FMLA and stay on the right side of the law. You know, I might as well go ahead and admit this to you. I have been brainwashed. Oh, I have been. I've had 3 years of law school. I've got 10 years of litigation. I think like a lawyer. Can't help myself. My daughter says to me, Mom, that toy belongs to me. And I say, what evidence do you have to support that allegation? Sweet pea. So that is the mindset from which I come when I give you the STAR sets. It's the mindset that I have when I teach my class. See, when I was a litigator, by the time the things came to me, we were in a mess. We're already having a fight. But now, as a full-time trainer for national seminars, I come in ahead of time, before there's a mess, and sort of guide people in the right direction so they can stay out of legal trouble. And that's what I do here. So, we'll talk about the STAR steps. The first STAR step is start with the rule, and I'd like you to write that down, please. On the last page, there are blank pages. Now, I want you to write these down, and I always have my participant write things down. You will learn more, retain what you learn, and use what you learn back at work if you write things down. So the first thing you're going to write down is start with the rule. Now, when I was a young attorney, let me change that. When I was a new attorney, all right. When I was a new attorney, there were 3 things I had to do whenever I had a new assignment, a new project. The first thing I would have to do is read the rule. Now, law is very complicated. There are rules for everything. So I'd have to start with a good comprehension of the rule. And after I read the rule, I could move on to step number 2. And the second thing that I'd have to do is read the rule. Yeah, I'd have to read it again. Well, you've done that, right? When you read it the first time and you go and read it again, it's like a totally different thing. Like, where were you when you read it? Yeah. So I would have to read the rule the second time, and only then. I've read it once. I've read it twice. I am ready to move on to the third step, and the third step is to read the rule. I would have to read the rule 3 times. Seriously. Standard operating procedure. Have you ever called an attorney to try to get an answer? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. You've called an attorney. Why are you laughing? Do you get an answer? No. What does the attorney say? I'll get back to you. Is that right? I'll get back to you. And now you know why. They're going to check the rule. Even that 20-year veteran is going to go check the rule. Well, actually, the 20-year veteran is going to send someone like me to go. But that is standard operating procedure. And in this climate of personal liability with regards to HR professionals, you better believe it is very important that you start with the rule. Do you understand that? Step number 2 is to take care of your paperwork. In FMLA, paperwork is very important. I'm going to talk to you about the specific paperwork you need. People have questions about the paperwork all the time. I will tell you all the paperwork that is necessary, and I'll tell you when it's necessary. I have seen cases where one side had their paperwork done and the other side did not. Guess what side won? All right, the side that has the paperwork. So it's very important for you to take care of your paperwork. The third thing is to ask questions. I have a question. Whose responsibility is it to designate the absence as FMLA? Whose job is that? Is the employee's job? No. Is it the doctor's job? No. It is the HR professional's job. It is your job to determine whether or not an absence is FMLA. How are you going to do that without the information? And how do you get the information unless you what? You got to ask questions. And I know you're a little shy about that. Oh, I don't want to violate their privacy. I get that. But again, you have to make that decision. Person calls up late, you're going to say, so what's going on? They call up to say they're sick. You're going to say, what's going on? Are you going to go see a doctor? Did you see a doctor? What did the doctor say? And if they've already established an FMLA issue, maybe they have more than one, you're going to ask, which FMLA issue is it? Which child is having the asthma attack? Which parent are you taking to the hospital? Which spouse are you, wait. I'm sorry. We're in DC, right? Oh yeah, I go too far. My point is, you need this information because you have to make this determination. Ask questions. The last thing is to record everything. You want to record everything. Now, again, when I was a new attorney, they paired me up with a mentor. His name was Richard. I loved Richard. He was one of these old, crusty guys who's been, practicing law since the beginning of time, right? And Richard says to me, Star, don't ever believe your clients. What? Here I am, this newly minted attorney. I'm willing out to fight for justice in the American way. And he says, don't believe your clients. Because clients sometimes misremember. Sometimes they leave things out. And as Brenda said, sometimes clients are less than honest. If a client tells you that something happens, they have to be able to show you. They have to be able to prove it. If they can't prove it, it didn't happen. And I will tell you a secret, and it's just between us in this room. Lawsuits are not necessarily won on the basis of right and wrong. I know you're shocked. More often than not, lawsuits are won on the basis of what you can. Baby, if you can't prove it, it didn't happen. So, you are going to record everything. You have a disagreement with someone, they promise to give you something in 3 days, we're going to record it. Does that make sense? So, I'd like you to repeat the STAR steps with me, after me. Start with the rule. Take care of your paperwork. Ask questions. And record everything. Very Very good. And I have star steps for every class that I teach. All right, so let us move on. So as I said, what is star step number 1? What is it? Start with the rule. And so we're going to start with the rule. This is my rule book. I carry it with me everywhere. All right, so this is what it says. Basic parameters of the law. The federal FMLA provides that an eligible employee must be allowed up to 12 work weeks of unpaid job-protected leave within a 12-month period for any of the following reasons: birth or adoption of a child, caring for a child, spouse, or parent, the employee's own serious health condition. The law also provides that health care benefits must be continued during the employee's absence. There you have it. You got it? You good? We're done? That's right. How many times am I going to read that? 3. Absolutely. But here are the key elements. Here are the key elements of what I just read. They are an eligible employee and a covered employer. You must have both for FMLA to work, and we'll talk about those in just a moment. There's also a serious illness. What the heck is that? How serious is serious? We'll talk about that in a moment. And one of the benefits that the FMLA gives is job protection. Now, these are just 4 of the 8 keys to FMLA. And when I teach my full-day class, we go over each key until there is absolute understanding. All right, so let's move forward a little bit. We're going to talk now about what? Eligible employee. Absolutely. I'd like you to repeat after me, please. 12, 12, 50, 50. Say it. 12, 12, 50, 50. Please write that down. I need you to write that down. If you were working in a workbook, it would be at the top of page 10. Write down 12, 12, 50, 50. Now let me ask you a couple of questions. In order for an employee to be eligible for FMLA, how many months must they work? 12. In addition to the 12 months, how many hours do they need to work? And they have to have how many employees within a 75-mile radius? 50. And you guys said you didn't know anything. Absolutely. That is the formula for eligible employee. What is it? Tell me. 12, 50. Very good. Let's go on to covered employer. Now you would be on page 12 of your workbook, and you'd write down this. 50, 20, 75. Go ahead and write that down. 50, 20, 75. And I need you to repeat it after me. 50, 20, 75. Very good. So I'll ask you these questions. In order for a company to be covered by the FMLA, how many employees do they need to have? 50. In addition, those 50 employees have to work how many weeks? 20. And what radius do those employees have to be? 75. 75. Excellent. So now you know the formula for a covered employer. So this thing is totally running by itself. I just want you to know. I'm going to hold it like this. All right. Now, let's talk about the qualifying events. When is FMLA triggered? How do we know it's time to use FMLA? Well, here are some of them. No, really. The birth of a son or a daughter or the care of a newborn child. Yes? Say, ah. Come on. Oh, isn't that sweet? Yes. Adoption or foster care placement of a child. Again. Very nice. The care of an employee's spouse, son, daughter, or parent, or the employee's own health condition. So those are the triggers for the FMLA. Let's take a look at this. Bam. So let's take a look at this. That's right. Calling my lawyer. Who's right? I hate when people say he is. Yes, the employee is right. Do men have a right to pregnancy leave under the Act? Yes. Really? Pregnancy leave? Do I need to have another conversation about the birds and the bees? No. They don't have pregnancy leave, but they do have parental leave. So let's take a look here. The expected mother has FMLA time before the birth of her child if she is unable to work. The husband has FMLA time to care for an incapacitated pregnant spouse or to care for her during any prenatal. Daddy gets to go see the heartbeat too. All right? And if the mom is sick after the baby, husband gets to spend that time too. What about boyfriend? Does boyfriend get to spend that time? So FMLA? Nope. It clearly says husband, spouse. Now, both parents get to have time if they need to care for a sick baby, and both parents get to have time to take care of a well baby. So my question is, do you have to be married to have this time to take care of your baby? No, because you don't have to be married to be a parent, right? Yeah, don't tell my daughter. She's 10 years old, under a different impression, and I'm leaving it there until I have to have another conversation. All right, so that's pregnancy, birth, and adoption. Let's talk about serious illness. And I've got to say, this is one of the things that makes the participants crazy. What's a serious illness? All right, a serious illness is one of two things. It is either inpatient care. That means they're in a hospital, in a hospice, in a medical care facility, a rehab place, something like that. Or it's continuing treatment. Continuing treatment is a long, drawn-out thing, but I'll just give you the highlights. That means they're out of work for 3 full continuous days, and they see a doctor. You got that? How many days are they out?
3.
What kind of days?
Continuous.
Thank you. Beautiful. Continuous calendar days. And then what happens? They see a doctor. That's pretty much it. Sometimes you have what's called chronic serious illnesses. That's when they're not seeing a doctor every day. That's when they're not out for 3 full consecutive days, like your migraines, your asthma, diabetes, things like that. When you have an episode, you go take care of it, and that's FMLA. But you don't have an episode every day. Does that make sense? So that is some ideas of serious illness. Let me ask you this. Give me some examples. What's a serious illness? Anyone? Just shout it out. Cancer?
Someone going through cancer treatment.
Cancer treatment, diabetes, anything else? Asthma, heart attack? Absolutely. Serious as a heart attack. What else? Hypertension? Yeah, that really irritates me. But that is one of them. I'm sorry, Fausta. It is. Hypertension and the migraines, those things, they bother me. But still, they're serious illnesses. Anything else? Dementia? Absolutely, absolutely. What about substance abuse? Is substance abuse a serious illness under the FMLA? Yeah? I see you say yes? What is your name, sir? Either one. Yes, sir. Sir. Milton? Yeah. Milton. So Milton says that substance abuse is covered under the FMLA. So if I call Milton.
George said that.
If I call up Milton or George and I say, hey, George, I'm not going to be able to come back this afternoon because I had a really good lunch. Is that time going to be covered by the FMLA? Well, hey, now hold on. You guys said substance abuse was covered. George, Milton, you're going to leave me hanging? You said substance abuse is covered. What's missing? Treatment. Oh, yeah, those details. Treatment. So, substance abuse itself, not covered by the FMLA. Treatment of substance abuse by a healthcare professional, covered by the FMLA. Are we clear? Excellent. Let's move on. Job protection. This is one of the keys to FMLA. You get to keep your job. Here's a little bit about the history. Before there was the FMLA, people sometimes had to make a choice. If they had a crisis in their lives, they had to make a choice. Do I take care of mom, or do I keep my job? Do I take care of my baby, or do I keep my job because I need the benefits? You know, that put people between a rock and a hard place. The FMLA came to soothe some of that out. So job protection is one of the benefits. You get an equivalent position, equivalent pay, equivalent benefits, and equivalent terms of conditions of employment when you come back from FMLA. Does that make sense? Let's take a look at this. What in the world? What in the world was that about? Let me ask you this. We are moving. All right. So, what was wrong with that picture? What was wrong? Wait. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Here's what I want you to do. At each of your tables, I would like for you to, first of all, pick a leader. Here's one. Person with the shortest hair or the least amount of hair? Person with the least amount of hair, raise your hand, please. Raise your hand, please. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. All right, person with the least amount of hair. I need you to turn to the person to your right and say, you are the table leader. All right, all right, all right. Table leader, here's your job. Here's your job. I need you to come up with 3 things that were wrong. Talk with your table. You're going to do this as a group. This is a table conversation. Come up with 3 things that are wrong. I'm going to pick the table, and you have to tell me just one thing. But come up with 3, because you cannot repeat what another table has said. Are you ready? And go. You have a minute and a half. All right. Let's bring it to a close, please. All right, let's bring it to a close, please. If you can hear my voice, clap 3 times. If you can hear my voice, clap 3 times. Thanks. Kind of hard to quiet down. You guys get all excited about the exercises, which is a good thing. All right, so you got your answers? Yes. Okay, who's my person here? Christine. Christina? Yes, what do you have? Just give me one answer.
Not an equivalent position.
What? Christina, come on. You're thinking graphic design is not the same as data entry? Is that what you're saying? You're absolutely right. Okay, who's my leader at this table? Yes, sir.
We're not sure she was entitled to FMLA. We didn't establish the size of the company. We didn't know.
Well, that is an interesting way of doing it. We had not established that they were an FMLA qualified company. But if they were, what would have been wrong?
They were. What would have been wrong is they had put someone else in her position.
Oh my goodness, they put some, well, what are they going to do? Terry couldn't do everything. What could they have done? A temp? Hello? Kelly Temps. Very good. All right, who's my leader here? Give me one. Really? Do you have anything over here, anything different?
Yeah, they relocated her to another area.
What, the lobby? And there's a problem with that? Oh, and here's my favorite one. We didn't know if you were coming back. What kind of, what? As a discrimination attorney, that hurts my feelings. You just don't say things like that. But you're absolutely right. It wasn't the same terms and conditions of employment sitting in the lobby. It wasn't the same job. And I'm sure it wasn't the same pay. So those are all things that were wrong with that picture. So thank you very much for doing that. All right, so now we are going to get into the heart and soul. Timeline and paperwork. I've got to tell you that some of the biggest questions I get are right here regarding timeline and paperwork. See these 4 things right here that were here a moment ago? See these 4 things? This is it. This is all there is. These are the 4 documents that are absolutely required by law. They're required by what? Law. That means you're going to take care of this paperwork. If we're in a longer session, there's a space in the book where they write these 4 down, because I want you to know it when you leave here. But that's okay. We'll just go over it gently here. 1420. Here's what you need to know. According to the regulations, the employer is obligated to give notice to the employee of their rights and responsibility under FMLA. Do they have to ask for it? No. Do they have to give you hints? No. It is your job to let them know. One way you're going to do that is with the 1420. Now, this is a form that's available for you on the DOL website, departmentoflabor.org website, for free. Print it out. You need to post it. In the same place that you post your discrimination, harassment, wage and hour things, do not post it in your office behind your door. That does not count. The next thing you need to do is to give it out to all new hires, and it needs to be part of your FMLA package. All right. So let's talk now about the eligibility and the R&R notice, rights and responsibilities. It has 2 parts. There's a 381A. 381A says, yay, we have leave. Or it says, I'm sorry, we don't have leave, and here's why. And if you say no, you've got to give the here's why. Not enough hours, not enough time, okay? The next thing is 381B. That's the rights and responsibility notice. Basically, that's where you tell them, I'm going to need medical certification. This is going to be paid or this is going to be unpaid. You have to continue paying your benefits. Whatever you need to tell them, it's going to be here, because star step number 4 is to record what? Everything. You're not going to have a conversation about this. It's going to be recorded. Okay. Once that's done, we're also going to give out the certification. This means we want the doctor to certify what is ailing you. Not that we don't believe you, but we don't believe you. So there are 2 forms. It's a 380E. Who's that for? Employee, exactly. And the 380F, who's that for? There you go. Those are your forms. Now, once you send all these forms back out and then they come back, you have to do what's called a designation notice. This is your bow. This is how you wrap it up. Does that make sense? You have to give this notice, okay? This notice does one of 4 things. It either says, that's right, you're going to get leave because everything came back good. And again, if you got any special instructions, that's where it's going to be. You require more information. This is where you're going to do it. Maybe you need a second or third opinion, or you're going to deny leave. It's all on that designation notice. The next thing is the timing. So I need you to write this down. 5/15/57. 5/15/57. When you find out it looks like, smells like, tastes like FMLA, how many days do you have to give out your paperwork? After you give it out, how many days do they have to give it back to you? 15. Then, how many days do you have to give them the designation notice? 5. And if there's something you need them to fix it, how many days do they get to fix it? 7. There you have it, 5/15/57. Does that make sense? All right, so I just want to end the way we began. Repeat after me the STAR steps. Number 1, start with the rule. Number 2. Number 3. And number 4. Thank you so much for your time. All right.